Hi everybody, Cat Mattoon with Cooking on the Wildside. Well, I have a question for you. Would you rather have this, or would you rather have something exotic in hunt camp or camping out with your family or fishing camp? Well, I got a special delivery yesterday from A&A Hardware. What's that got to do with it? Well, they're not your ordinary hardware store, and we're going to find out all about it. And what it is lobster. We're going to have a lobster stuffed elk tenderloin. It's going to be awesome. And then after that, I'm going to show you a quick little something for hors d'oeuvres. We'll have lobster stuffed mushrooms. So I have a special guest I want to introduce you to, so let's go over and check it out and talk about some lobsters. Special guest Andy Lightbody, my partner from Rocky Mountain Television. Andy, not your ordinary hardware store.
Not by any means.
I mean, you know, your favorite saying about them is absolutely awesome lobsters.
And as you can see, we've got a few of our friends here that got delivered. I'm from California originally, and so I'm used to Pacific lobsters. And
what's the difference?
Specifically, Pacific lobsters don't have these. They don't have the big claws that are associated with the Maine lobsters that you get out of the group from A&A Hardware. Now, probably one of the major differences also is the fact, and as you can see, our bugs are alive, and that's the way they come shipped. They come in a special container where they're all stuck down in here, nice and cozy, and ready to be delivered to your house. And if you're going to take them into hunting camp or take them out on your vacation or whatever, this is the way they come packaged. They're all iced up and ready to go. But if you're not going to leave that same day, the thing you want to make sure with the lobsters is keep them alive as long as possible.
Well, now they told us too, don't put them in fresh water.
It'll kill them.
Or don't put them on freshwater ice.
It'll kill them. Best thing to do is, as you can see this container sitting right here, this is actually out of the crisper. So when you get your lobsters, what you do is you take them out of there and you can put them in there like this, overnight them, and put them right into the refrigerator. They're good to go. The next day when you get ready to go, what you're going to want to do is take them, put them back in your container, and then take them into camp with you. Lobster have got to be alive, folks, when you're going to cook them. If they've gone dead and limp and everything else, honestly, the meat is no good. And as you can see, we've got a pretty good size assortment here from the A&A folks.
Now, what's the difference?
Well, obviously the size. Maine has a restriction that you've got to have at least a 1 pound lobster to be able to harvest it. Okay. And most of the lobsters will be in that 1.5 to maybe 2 pound range.
Okay.
This guy here, lobsters specifically take a long time to grow. They're not real fast growers. So somebody that's in this category here is probably in the neighborhood of 8 years old.
So this guy is 3 pounds, so
he's 25 years old.
Well, you're an old man.
Yeah, he is. And what they do is most of that they harvest are in the 1.5 to 3 pound range. You can get them up to 5 pounds, but that again is where they've got restrictions in Maine. Anything over 5 pounds goes back into the water.
So that's just like us up here in the high mountains with our fishing. You know, you catch one over a certain pound, and it happens with different species all over the country.
Exactly. They want them back. They want them back in as breeders.
As breeders.
And because obviously it's a self-perpetuating, you know, natural resource that can be regenerated time and time again by taking care of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to show everybody how to cook them. They're not difficult. It's extremely easy to take care of lobster, and yet most of the people that I talk to, and you have too, when they say, well, do you know how to prepare lobster? They say, yeah, I go to the restaurant.
Yeah.
So,
or I've never, you know, I've only ate lobster in a restaurant because I don't know how to cook it.
Exactly.
You know, it must be terribly hard.
Well, we're gonna show everybody really how simple it is. Yeah, it really is. So,
but I have a quick question. Now, when I was a little girl, and my daddy brought him home from Maine. You know, he was on the cruise, Navy. He told me, he says, when you put them in the water, they scream. Now, they were talking to me yesterday while I was cooking. In the box, they were talking to me.
No.
And Andy says, no, they don't talk. They have bubbles.
Yeah, they've got bubbles that are being released out from underneath on the soft shell part of the lobster as compared to the, you know, the hard stuff. And that brings a good point too. We're here in the winter months. These are what they call hard-shelled lobsters.
Okay.
Lobsters will shed in the July-August time frame, and then they become what they call soft-shelled lobsters.
Like crab.
Pretty much, exactly.
Well, I'll be darned.
And some people say, well, those are more tender. Well, realistically, the nice thing is you can harvest lobsters year-round. In the winter months when they get real hard shelled like this, there's really no difference in terms of the preparation. It's pretty simple. It's going to be the same.
And these are wild. They're not farmed.
Oh, no. No, and what A&A does is they go out and they buy the lobsters from the lobster boats. I mean, they get down there on the docks, they make the selection. All of the lobsters are live. They take them, they transport them back to the hardware store, and they put them in tanks, and then they ship them all over the world.
This is too good. This is too much fun.
So,
okay. Well, I tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to have lots of questions for you through the show, but I'm going to let you show everybody 101 on how to cook a lobster. I'm going to go get my elk tenderloin ready. Deal?
Deal.
Deal. I'll see you guys later. Listen to Andy. He's got some good information.
Okay, we're going to show you how to prepare lobster. A lot of people are intimidated by it, but don't be. If you can boil water, you can cook a lobster. There's basically 3 ways in which to prepare a lobster. You can either boil them in a big pot, which, by the way, you don't have to have the turkey fryer if you've got other ways to cook in camp, but this is the simplest way to get this water hot real quick. You can steam a lobster. You can do it in a Dutch oven. You can do it in any sort of a big pot, or obviously if you want to take the turkey roaster with you, does a lot more than cooks turkeys. The third way then is how do you do it? Put them on the grill. But that's for another show. Right now we're going to cook these lobster in a great big pot of water. Obviously, start with as much water as you need to be able to cover the lobsters. Depending on how many you're going to cook, add salt. They cook better in salt water. So we're going to add the salt. Another little secret in terms of flavor, add some fresh lemon. Take some lemons, just quarter them up, drop them in as your water is getting nice and warm. Again, it adds a nice citrusy flavor to it. A can of beer. Doesn't even have to be alcoholic beer. What I'm looking for is more of that malt flavor. So a near beer, an O'Doul's, whatever's favorite brew is in camp, throw a couple of cans in there with your water, and it'll add quite a bit to it actually. 2 cans because we've got a lot of lobsters that we're going to be cooking today. And then another little secret, you can get this at any of the convenience stores, any of the supermarkets, what have you. It's what they call a shrimp and crab boil. It's usually pretty good if you're doing, crab, Dungeness type crab, blue crabs. Also what we call mud bugs, crayfish, also works real good for lobsters. Open up a pack. What they normally suggest is 1 pack per about a quart of water. So we're cooking with several gallons, so we're going to add quite a few packs. Again, a way to season the water, get them ready to go. It'll add a little extra spice to it. What all is in this? Well, basically it's got mustard seed, it's got dill seeds, black pepper, red pepper, bay leaves, and coriander seed. So a little bit of extra stuff just to kind of spice it up a little bit. We're going to let the water get hot, and you want to bring it to a full boil before you put the lobsters in. As soon as this water is nice and boiling, again, you don't want to crowd the pan, but what you want to do is make sure that water's to a full, hot boil, and we'll be ready to add the lobsters. Okay, now the water is at a full boil, and I mean that's the way. Where'd you go? Oh, there you are. Okay. We want it up here really nice and hot. Safety first. Make sure that you've got a good mitt. The insert down in here has got all of our spices and everything boiling away. So what we're going to do is we're going to pull the pan. We're going to set it down. And we're going to add the lobsters head down. And you don't want to overcrowd it. So if you've got a bunch of lobsters like we do today, you're probably going to divide them up into a couple of different little batches here. There's the first 4. They're going to go back right into the water, set them down in there, nice and easy. Put your lid back on. You're going to bring it back up to a full boil. Now you have a hard time overcooking a lobster, but you can undercook it. So figure what you're gonna do is probably 15 to 20 minutes, and we'll come back and we'll be ready to take them out and start the second batch.
Well, while Andy's over here cooking the lobster, I've got to put together just a little bit and prepare ahead of time so I can show you how to put this thing together very quickly. So first off, we're going to use a cup of butter. That's 2 sticks of butter. You can use the salted or the unsalted, it doesn't matter. We're going to use a cup of wine. White wine, dry white wine is the best. We're going to use a teaspoon of garlic powder. We're going to put in 2 teaspoons of lemon juice. We're going to put this on the stove and we're going to melt it all down so that it's all melted and ready to go. So we'll be back and put this all together when Andy gets the lobsters cooked.
Okay, it's been 20 minutes. I'm going to take the lid off. What I want to do before I pull the whole pot out is reach in and grab one, get him with the tongs here, pull him up, and I want to show you the difference. This is what they look like when they get ready to go in. This is what they look like when they, nice bright red, when they're coming out. You can see the difference in terms of cooked versus uncooked. The next batch now is ready to go. We're going to let these cool, pull them out, get them down onto the platter. We're going to join Kat over here in showing you how to make a lobster stuffed elk tenderloin.
Okay, Andy, tell me what I'm supposed to do with this because all I need is the tails.
Okay, well, as you can see, all of the guests have been invited to the table.
Yeah.
And what you do is, once they've cooled down and they're nice enough to be able to handle, all you're going to do is, first off, you're going to break off the front claws.
Oh, well,
and if it
that's
breaks
easy.
so tender like that, you know it's nice and done. Okay? So break that off like that. Then what you're going to do is you're going to separate the head from the tail, which is the part that you said you're going to need. So all we're going to do now is basically pull everything apart.
Oh, what's all that?
Okay, this is what they call the tamale. This is the stuff that when it's all cooked up, turns to a nice bright white, and to a green, and to a red. The red is what they call coral. That's actually an edible part. So is the green, the tamale. Now, down in the South, they'll suck the heads out of the crawdads, okay? All right. But what you can do is you want to be able to save the tamale and save the coral because you can use it in soups and bisques and in other cooking recipes. Same thing with the green. Now, at this point, you've got the tail. This is the part that you've been wanting. Take and snap this back off like that.
You do that like you know how to do that.
Kind of not my first rodeo here. Then what you're going to do is take and split.
Oh, well, I thought you'd have to use a knife.
Not when it's cooked up real good like this. All I want to do at this point is be able to get the shell off.
Yeah.
And then simply pull out the meat. You've got at this point exactly what you're going to need insofar as stuffing it into the tenderloin.
Well, tell me one more thing. Well, what's to keep the cook from eating all the goodies?
We try duct tape. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Or staples, one of the two.
It may have to be staples. That sure looks good.
Once you've got that, just snap it, pull it wide open.
And pull that meat out.
And pull that meat out. This then is the lobster tail. We'll come back and show you what we can do with all of the claws because that's the good eating meat that you're also going to use for your stuffed mushrooms as well as just enjoying with drawn butter, a little lemon, and I'll show you how to make that sauce as well. So on that happy note, I'm going to turn it over to you. You're good to go.
Okay, sweetie.
Good
luck.
luck.
Well, we've got our lobster tails. While Andy was cooking the lobster, I went in and got my elk tenderloin, and I've already butterflied it. So we want to lay it all out. It looks gorgeous, by the way. Not much fat. Now, we take our 4 lobster tails, and we're going to place them inside this tenderloin. Got to make sure everybody's going to get a bite of lobster, so place them how you need to. Now we're going to take 1/4 of our melted butter that we did earlier, and we're going to pour it over the top of it. Oh gosh, that looks good. It's going to be so hard for me to keep my hands off of this and out of my mouth. I'll tell you for sure. Okay, now what we need to do is we're going to roll it up, fold our edges over, make it into a nice little roast looking contraption here. Okay, now I'm going to take some twine, put it underneath here. We're going to get it all tied up, because if you don't, it's just going to fall apart on you. And we'll tie it up, go under, let's see, over, under, through. And you don't want to tie your string too tight, because it will cut into the meat. So we'll get this all tied up, and then we'll get it in the oven, and we'll work on our stuffed mushrooms. Okay, we've got it all tied up. I'm going to clip my last string. You want to tie it up nice and tight, but not too tight now. So then we're going to put it in the pan. Okay, we'll set this one aside. Bring it over here. We've got 1/4 cup of olive oil. So we want to pour that on and rub it all over this meat. Rub it down good. Turn it. Get that olive oil all over it, because we're going to take our cracked pepper and we're going to sprinkle that over the top. That is going to make it delicious. It already smells good. Nothing like tartar, huh? Okay, we take the cracked pepper, sprinkle it over the top of this thing. We'll turn it a little bit. It's a tablespoon of cracked pepper. That's going to give it a little bit of a bite. Okay, pepper's down. Now, out of our 3 cups of wine, we've got 2 cups left. We pour it in the bottom of the pan. Now, we've got our oven preheated at 425. And what we're going to do is we're going to slide this in the oven. We're going to bake it 45 minutes to an hour, and it'll be ready to slice up. And what we're going to do is, you're wondering what we're going to do with that butter that we had left over? Well, we've got our butter in the pan, and then when we slice this up, we put that butter on the side, and you pour that over the top of this, and oh boy, I bet it's going to be good. Okay, now we've got some lobster left over. We're going to use some claw meat. I have cream cheese, 1 package, 8 ounce. I've got 1 tablespoon of chopped garlic I'm going to put in there. I've got 1/2 teaspoon of lemon pepper. Give it a little bit of a twang, because lemons, lobster, going to put that in there. Now we're going to put the lobster in. Just so you know, when you go to order your lobster from A&A, you'll want to remember that 25% of a lobster is the meat. So keep that in your mind. Okay, now we're going to have a 1/2 cup here, and it's packed down. It's a packed half, chopped, and it weighs 4 ounces. Okay, so we're going to put that in there. Now I'm going to take my fork and I'm going to mix it all up. Get that all smushed together, and you can use a mixer if you want to, but what I've done is I've laid the cream cheese out and let it get soft, and that way it's a little more workable. Oh my goodness, this is smelling good and looking good, and they just haven't made smell-o-vision yet, but one of these days, you know, we've got 3D and everything else, so. Alrighty. Now, what I'll do is I've got button mushrooms, 1 package, and I've stemmed them, cleaned them, and then stemmed them. And you take your little teaspoon here, and you start stuffing it. And we want to get the meat all shoved down in there, and the cream cheese. Sure is a pretty salmon color. We'll put those on the pan. We'll get all of these stuffed, and I'll sprinkle them with some Parmesan cheese. Then we're going to preheat the oven to 350, and we're going to leave them in there for about 10 to 15 minutes, depends on your oven, until they get kind of golden brown on top. It's going to be some good eats. Boy, looky here, looky here. Uh-oh. They must be pretty good because somebody's been sneaking into them while I wasn't looking. A special thank you to A&A for the absolutely awesome lobsters. My family had the most unique Christmas dinner ever, and no leftovers. Now that you know how to cook them and even incorporate some of your wild game, go treat your friends and family and order yours today.